Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. Today we're going to be making the zero in the treat box series. If you've watched any of the previous number videos, you'll know the process. If you're new to the boxes, I'm going to make each of the boxes the same size overall so that you can use one or more numbers in conjunction with one another. And in addition, where possible, I try to use 1/8 of an inch rather than 1/16 of an inch, so you can easily scale your boxes up and down to suit your needs. With each box, we'll start by making a template, which you will then draw around on your base cardstock to create the front and back panels of your box. For all of the boxes, the starting cardstock is 4.5 inches by 7.5 inches. Along the 4.5 inch side, either make a score line with your score tool or make a pencil line from top to bottom. And along the short side, this will be at 1.5 inches and 3 inches. And along the long side, this will be 5/8 of an inch, 1.5 inches, 6 inches, and 6 7/8 of an inch. Once your pencil lines or score lines are in place, you will join up the various points as marked on this template here, and that will give you your zero shape. You will then cut that out and use that to draw around to give you your front and back panels for your box. We will now make the side panels, which is going to join the back and the front panel together. And you can make the depth of the box whatever width you so choose. If you've watched any of the other videos, you'll see that I've made some which are 1 inches deep and some which are 2 inches deep. Decide on the depth of box you require and then add on an additional 1 inch. For instance, if you wanted a 1 inch width box, I would cut strips of cardstock which are 2 inches wide and score at 1/2 and 1.5 to give you the glue tabs to enable you to adhere the side panel onto the front and back panels. You can see on this template here that I've marked the length of each of the sides of the zero, and I would recommend you measure the length of each of your sides. If there is any difference, you will need to adjust the length of your side strips and your score lines accordingly. The side strip measurements I'm going to give you are based on the length of each of the sides that you can see here. In this particular instance, the opening of the box is going to be in this section here. You can change the position of the opening by adjusting the side strips accordingly. And if you'd prefer, you could cut each of these strips separately rather than from longer strips as I'm going to go through now. Depending on the depth of your box, these are actually quite a good way of using up scraps of cardstock. For instance, you might cut one strip here which is 6 inches and then add on 1/2 an inch for a glue tab and then work your way round making shorter lengths for each of these pieces. All you need to do is make sure that in each instance you add on an additional amount to give you a glue tab so that you can add the strips together as you work your way around the box. We will start by cutting strip A, and strip A is going to run down this side across the bottom and across the bottom and then a glue tab, so that's all the red sections on this template. Strip A is 9 5/8 of an inch long and it scored at 6, 7 5/8 and 9 1/8 of an inch. Strip B is 8 1/8 of an inch long, scored at 1 5/8 and 7 5/8. Strip C is 5 1/4 inches long, and this is going to run around the top and incorporate the opening. This is 5 1/4 inches long, scored at 1 5/8, 3 1/8, and 4 3/4. And then finally there'll be 2 strips which are for this internal section here. These are 6.5 inches long, scored at 4.5 and 6. And in this particular instance, because this box is for demonstration purposes only, all of my strips are 2 inches wide, scored at 1/2 and 1.5. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, the construction process for all of the boxes is the same. So if you've watched the other boxes, you can probably skip the rest of the video, perhaps move forward until I give you the measurements for the mat layer, and happily go on and construct your box. If this is the first box you're making, the first thing we're going to do is score along all of the long 1/2 inch score lines along the long side. We'll start with strip A, which in this instance happens to be the longest strip. I'm going to take one of my panels. We're now going to fold and burnish along these vertical score lines. And as I move my way around the box, I'm going to burnish the score lines in the direction they're going to sit in around the box. So for instance, this is this side section here. This is going to be a mounting fold. The next one is going to be a mounting fold. And we're going to move up into the glue tab. So this piece is going to sit in the box in this orientation. So I'm going to do that with all of the pieces. Once you've got your pieces into shape, we can start to prepare the individual strips. So this is strip A. What I'm going to do is just use my circle punch just to cut a notch into the top of strip A, like so. And then I'm going to cut up within the long tab along each of the score lines, like so. So I'm splitting the strip along the score lines. I'm then going to rotate the piece. This is the top end with the notch in it. Just move those out of the way. I'm going to remove the bottom left and right hand squares and just take a wedge from the sides of that glue tab. So this is where we will add our strips together as we work our way around the box. And then for strip C, which is going to be the opening, I'm going to cut straight up each of the score lines as we did previously. I'm going to remove the section at the bottom. Then my personal preference is to use a corner rounder, and I'm just going to round off the corners of the front tab. I may find when I add this into the box that I need to shape the front of the lid tab here, but at the moment I'm going to leave that as it is. And then we can do exactly the same with the 2 internal strips. We'll then take each of our strips one by one and add glue onto the long glue tabs and adhere the strips into place around the outer and the internal section of the box. So take your time to get your box lined up as neatly as you can. You will find that it's quite easy to move the strips out of the way and then manipulate them into place. At the end, if you do find you've got any overhang, you can just go in with your scissors or a craft knife and just trim around any of the front or back panel if you need to. As I've said on my other videos, this is a hand cut box. This is not created with an electronic die cutting machine. So there is always potentially the room for error. Come to the top of the box. I'm going to add glue to the top of this glue tab. Add piece C into place, like so. This is the opening end where I've got my 1/2 inch tab. And then I'm going to add C into place by adding glue to this first and second section only. Keep this third section completely out of the way. You don't want that to get stuck down accidentally. And then I can go in and add my 2 central sections into the middle, like so. Before I stick my second panel on, I'm just going to go around, and where any of the tabs overlap each other, just add a small piece of glue just to stick the tabs over each other as we work around. That will help add some rigidity and just help the box sides to remain in place as we stick the second panel over the top. Then I will use my construction glue, add it on all of the outer tabs and the internal tabs. Keep the lid completely out of the way so that you've got no danger of sticking that down by accident, and then add your second panel onto the top. Once the panel's in place, just close your lid, and if you need to, trim anything off of the front of these tabs to help your lid move in and out of the box easily. I'll give you the sizes for the matte layer, and I would highly recommend you cut this out of some scrap or some copier paper just to check you like the look of it. I have to say, in this particular instance, I've struggled because of the various angles at the top, etc. So please do just take your time to make sure that you're happy with the look before you cut it out of your patterned paper. The starting cardstock for the matte layer is 4 1/4 by 7 1/4, and along the short side we're going to mark at top to bottom at 1 1/4 inches and 3 inches. That's going to give the lines for the internal section, and then make a mark at the top and the bottom at 1 3/8 and 2 7/8. So this is going to be the start of the angles on the front of the box. And on the long side, mark from top to bottom at 5/8 of an inch, 1 1/4 inches, which is going to be the internal section, 6 inches, which will be in the internal section, and then 6 1/2 inches, which is going to be the angle on the front. And you'll join up those lines similar to we did for the front and back panels, and your matte layer will sit on the front like so, with there or thereabouts an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. But as I say, I do recommend that you check that, because this one has been particularly tricky. So this would be the finished decorated box. This one does need some tidying up. I don't actually need this box, I've just done it for demo, so it's a bit rough around the edges. I'll just bring in one of the other boxes that we've made so you can see how the boxes work in conjunction. This one is the same height, the same width, and in fact these two are the same depth. So you can see how the boxes would work in conjunction with one another. So that's our box for today. The next box in the series is going to be the 6 and the 9. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.